Humanity is up against a monumental challenge. How do we support billions of people on a planet with, let's face it, limited resources? We've gotten incredibly good at it, but our success has come at a cost. It's created a footprint that's literally reshaping our world. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into the scale of that impact and, what it really means for our future.
Just take a second and really look at this. What you're seeing isn't just a plantation. It's the ghost of a rainforest. This is what happens when our demand for just one thing, like palm oil, collides with an ancient, vibrant ecosystem. And this one picture, it pretty much sums up the biggest struggle of our time, that constant battle between human needs and the health of our planet. So, our story really kicks off with one of humanity's greatest achievements. We figured out how to create abundance. We mastered the art of feeding billions. But, every big win has a catch. And it turns out the price of all this plenty is way, way higher than we ever imagined.
Now, this wasn't just a small step forward. It was a complete revolution in how we make food. We didn't just tweak one thing. We changed everything. Giant machines took over from people. Chemical fertilizers let us bypass the natural limits of the soil. We declared war on pests with pesticides. And we even started re-engineering life itself through selective breeding. We didn't just learn to grow food. We learned how to manufacture it.
And the absolute cornerstone of this manufacturing mindset is something called monoculture. Just picture those endless fields of corn or wheat you see, stretching for miles. It's the very definition of efficiency. But, and this is the critical part, nature never does this. Ever. Natural ecosystems are all about diversity. By choosing uniformity, we built a system that's incredibly productive, yeah, but also incredibly fragile.
And here's the balance sheet for our farming revolution. The good stuff is obvious, right? More efficiency, bigger yields, lower costs. But the debts we've racked up are staggering. When we wipe out diversity, we basically roll out the red carpet for pests, which means we need more pesticides, which then end up in our food chain. And those fertilizers that make our crops huge, they wash into our rivers and choke them. So, in solving one massive problem, hunger, we accidentally created a whole bunch of new ones that are now threatening the entire planet's health.
All of this intensive farming, well, it needs a ton of land. And it's not just for agriculture. As our population keeps growing, so does our need for space, for our homes, for resources, for all the infrastructure that our lives depend on. Our footprint just keeps on expanding, relentlessly.
So what's really driving this expansion? Well, it pretty much boils down to the three pillars of our modern world. First, we need land to live on and to grow our food. Second, we need to dig up the planet's raw materials to build everything. And third, we need to pave over a lot of it with the roads and factories that keep our whole global economy humming along.
Okay, just let this number sink in for a moment. 18 million acres. That is roughly the size of Panama. An area that huge is wiped clear of forest every single year. All to meet the demands we just talked about. It's just a relentless, staggering loss.
You see, getting rid of a forest is like pulling a single thread that makes the whole sweater unravel. First, all the wildlife that live there. It vanishes. Then, with no tree roots to hold the ground together, that precious topsoil just washes away, turning fertile land into barren waste. That runoff then chokes rivers and causes these devastating floods. And the whole time, we're losing a critical tool for absorbing CO2, and we're releasing a massive amount of it into the atmosphere by burning the trees. It's a truly devastating chain reaction.
But our footprint isn't just measured in the land we clear. The consequences of what we do spill out everywhere. They flow into our rivers and rise up into our atmosphere. We're not just changing the landscape anymore, we're changing the actual chemistry of our planet.
It's one of the most basic laws of nature, right? There is no away. Every bit of smoke from a chimney, every drop of chemical runoff, every single piece of plastic we throw out, it all has to go somewhere. And that somewhere is our shared home, the land, the water, and the air that we all need to survive.
So here is a perfect, if tragic, example of an unintended consequence. Remember those fertilizers that give us bigger crops? Well, when they wash off the fields and into our rivers, they trigger this deadly chain reaction called eutrophication. Basically, they fertilize the algae, which then explodes into a huge, thick bloom on the surface. This green mat blocks all the sunlight, so the plants underneath die. Then, as all that dead stuff decomposes, it sucks all the oxygen out of the water, creating these massive dead zones where basically nothing can live. A solution on the farm becomes a complete catastrophe in the river.
And sometimes the consequences are just horribly direct. This isn't some abstract process happening 100 miles away. This is the real, tangible cost of pollution on a living creature. It's a heartbreaking gut punch of a reminder of what's truly at stake here.
All right, now let's look up into our atmosphere. This diagram shows Earth's climate control system. Over on the left, you've got the natural greenhouse effect. Think of it like a thin, perfect blanket of gases that traps just enough heat to make life on Earth possible. But then, look to the right. That's what we've done. We've been thickening that blanket, pumping more and more of these gases into the air, and now it's trapping way too much heat, and the entire planet is warming up. So what's actually in this thicker blanket? Well, let's meet the two main culprits. First up, you've got carbon dioxide, or CO2. This is basically the exhaust of our entire industrial civilization, pouring out of every car and factory. Then there's methane. It's even more potent in the short term, and it comes from things like livestock farming and, pretty alarmingly, it's now bubbling up from thawing permafrost in the Arctic.
Okay, it's really easy to look at the scale of all this and just feel totally overwhelmed, right? But here's the thing. Understanding the problem is the absolute first step to fixing it. The story of our human footprint doesn't have to end in disaster. So now we're going to turn to the final and most important chapter, how we can actually find a new, smarter balance with our planet.
The guiding light for this new chapter is this idea of sustainability. And it's not about going backward, it's all about being smarter. The goal, like this definition says, is to use our resources in a way that doesn't use them up for good. It's kind of like having a planetary savings account. We need to learn how to live off the interest, not the principal, so there's actually something left for everyone who comes after us.
So how do we actually do this? How do we put sustainability into practice? Well, when it comes to protecting life itself, we have a pretty powerful toolkit. We educate because you can't protect what you don't care about. We create safe havens and breeding programs to pull species back from the very brink of extinction. We actively guard their homes. And we've even built these genetic arcs, seed banks that act as a last-ditch insurance policy against extinction for plants.
And this same proactive, smart approach can be applied to whole ecosystems. Instead of just clear-cutting forests, we can set up protected areas and actually replant what we've lost. Instead of fishing our oceans until they're empty, we can use smart rules like fishing quotas and closed seasons to give the fish populations time to bounce back. These aren't just pie-in-the-sky ideas. They are proven, working strategies for being responsible stewards of our planet.
When you boil it all down, it all comes back to this one simple but really profound truth that's captured perfectly right here. Conservation isn't just about saving cute animals or pretty trees. It's about saving ourselves. It's about preventing the absolute tragedy of extinction while making sure there's a livable, resource-rich future for generations to come.
And all of this leads us to the ultimate question. We are, without a doubt, the first species in the history of this planet to see our own footprint with such stunning clarity, to measure the damage we're doing in real time. We see the problem. We know what the solutions are. The only question left is the one you see right here. Will we be the first species to actually fix it?
You know,